Gentiles has come in. Romans 11, verse 25. This phrase, fullness of the Gentiles, according to numerous older Bible commentators, refers to a predetermined number of Gentiles from the nations of the world, converted prior to the return of the Lord, when the natural seed of Abraham will have the spiritual blindness removed from their eyes. Another fullness of time is connected with the city of Jerusalem, linking the city's deliverance from Gentile powers. Jesus predicted, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled." Luke 21, verse 24. Christ predicted Jerusalem would be in the hands of Gentile powers and trodden down, a term for continual wars and destruction. This resumes until the times of the Gentiles is fulfilled, when these nations would lose their grip and Jews would control the city again. In Luke 21, verse 24, the Greek word for fulfilled is pleroo, and it means to fill up, like cramming a net full, something occurring to coincide with a prediction. The prediction is fulfilled because it is considered a fullness of some type. A prophecy is fulfilled when the foretold event incurs particular circumstances, aligning at once with the prediction. Jerusalem's liberation from Gentile domination was a set time in June of 1967 after the Six-Day War, when the Holy City, once divided between Israel and Jordan, was united as one city, becoming the capital of Israel. Some time frames are identified as times and seasons. The disciples asked Christ if he would restore the kingdom to Israel. And he said unto them, "It is not for you to know the times or the seasons, which the Father hath put in his own power." Acts 1, verse 7. The Greek word for times is chronos, and alludes to a fixed space of time, especially the time remaining from now until the coming of the Lord. The Greek word for seasons is kairos, and signals a special season or event occurring within the fixed time. A third word is moed, or moedim, a Hebrew word meaning appointed times. It is used for the 7 festivals of Israel that were set yearly on a particular day and month. One amazing aspect of God's prophetic calendar is how major biblical and prophetic events fall in line with the same day or pattern of the 7 festivals. The calendar of the festivals. Beginning the night before Israel's exodus from Egypt, God began establishing 7 yearly festivals. These are his appointed seasons, days, and months throughout the year. Here is a list of the festivals, the Jewish month, and their assigned seasons. Passover, Pesach, first month, 14th day, March and April. Unleavened bread, Hag HaMotzah, first month, 15th through 21st days, March and April. First fruits, Bikurim, first month, day after Sabbath of unleavened bread, March and April. Pentecost, Shavuot, 50 days from first fruits, May and June. Trumpets, Yom Teruah, 7th month, first day, September and October. Atonement, Yom Kippur, 7th month, 10th day, September and October. Tabernacles, Sukkot, 7th month, 15th through 21st days, September and October. Because the Jewish calendar follows the lunar orbit, it has 354 days in its year, 12 months of 6 29-day months, and 6 30-day months. Lunar calendar variations allow the year to be 353 or 355 days. Since an average Jewish year is 11 days short of the global solar year of 365.25 days, periodically a 30-day month is added to the Jewish calendar, called a Shana Me'uberet, or pregnant year. It is added to the final month and called Adar. About every 3 years, or leap years, another month is added called Adar II. This ensures the feasts to fall on the same set day and appointed month. Otherwise, over many years, Passover would eventually come in the winter instead of the spring. Throughout history, major events often fall on parallel prophetic dates. There are 12 different months in the Jewish calendar. The month of Kislev commonly falls in the month of December and occasionally begins in late November. In the 2nd century B.C., a statue of Zeus defiled the temple in Jerusalem on the 24th of Kislev. Oddly, the same temple was cleansed and rededicated 3 years later on the 24th of Kislev. After the Babylonian captivity, the rebuilding of the temple under Haggai was on the 24th of Kislev. Some suggest that Christ may have been conceived on the 24th of Kislev, during the time of the Festival of Lights, known as Hanukkah. Going forward in time and history, General Edmund Allenby liberated Jerusalem from 400 years of Turkish rule on December 9, 1917, which was the 24th of Kislev. As I mentioned in Chapter 1, another date when negative historic events repeat on the Jewish calendar is the 9th of Av. For centuries, this day has been observed as a day of mourning for Jewish people. The following events occurred in Jewish history on the 9th of Av. The 12 scouts sent out by Moses returned with a bad report. The generation coming out in the Exodus was condemned to die. Nebuchadnezzar set fire to the first temple. The Romans destroyed the second temple. The Romans plowed up the Temple Mount to convert it to a Roman colony. The last independent outpost of the Bar Kokhba rebellion fell to the Romans. King Edward of England expelled all the Jews in 1290. The last group of Jews left Vienna in 1670 after expulsion from Austria. The Turkish government banned immigration of Russian and Romanian Jews into Palestine in 1882. World War I broke out in 1914. This was precipitated by the assassination of Archduke Francis Ferdinand. A decree to expel Jews from parts of Hungary was issued in 1941. According to Jewish tradition, to undertake any enterprise on the 9th of Av is considered bad luck. In more contemporary times, on August 14, 2005, Jews were again removed from their settlements in Gaza, in Israel, and forced into other settlements to the north, weeping as their own soldiers forced them on buses to be resettled to other locations in Israel. This occurred on the 9th of Av. Signals from the moon. Before paper calendars, how did the ancient people know when the month was beginning? The answer for Jews is in the moon. The moon actually has 4 cycles in each month. The first is the new moon, from the 1st to the 7th day of the month. The second is the waxing moon, from the 8th to the 14th day of the month. The third cycle is the full moon, falling on the 15th to the 22nd day of the month, and the fourth, the waning moon, which occurs on the 23rd to the 30th day of the month. This 4-part process was known among some rabbinical sources as the moon being reborn. The new moon is when the sky is totally dark and the moon hides its face from the earth. When the moon's silver sliver appeared among the Hebrews, it marked the beginning of the month, eventually leading to a quarter moon, followed by a full moon, from dark to full in slightly over 14 days. The process is then reversed as the moon decreases, from full to quarter and back to dark. This is the renewal of the moon or the month. The link between the month and the moon is seen in the Hebrew word for both. The word moon is Kodesh in Hebrew, and the Hebrew word month is also Kodesh. Genesis 7 verse 11, 8 verse 4, 29 verse 14, and Exodus 12 verses 2 through 6. It is noted in rabbinical sources that the renewal cycle of the moon is a perfect imagery of Israel's national and spiritual progression and regression. From Abraham to Solomon is about 15 generations. This indicates Abraham began the illumination of Israel in a time of total spiritual darkness, and 15 generations later, the kingdom of Israel was dwelling at its brightest fullness, with the climax of peace and prosperity under King Solomon. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam took rule, and the kingdom began to slowly diminish. Just like the moon in the sky, 15 generations later, Israel was carried into the darkness of the Babylonian captivity. Thus, the history of ancient Israel is linked to the 29-day or 30-day cycle of the moon. This is why rabbis place prophetic significance on a total lunar eclipse, called a blood moon, falling on Jewish festivals. It is considered a bad omen for the Jewish people, including a sign of internal struggle or a foreboding war. How ancients viewed the cosmic signs. Two of history's most noted Roman emperors were Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus. During Julius Caesar's reign, Roman settlers in Capua unearthed the ancient graves of Capua's colonists and a series of buried vessels. The founder of Capua had built a monument which held a bronze tablet written in Greek with a prediction. It read, "When once the houses of Capys is brought to light, then a branch of the Julian house will be slain by the hand of one of his kindred." The strange prediction indicated the emperor would be slain by the hand of a relative. As if this prediction was not troubling enough, the wife of Julius dreamed their home fell apart. Believing the dream was a warning, his wife warned him not to go to the Colosseum, which he ignored. It was there in the Colosseum where Julius was stabbed 23 times and met his death in 44 BC. Caesar Augustus was appointed Roman emperor in 27 BC. He ruled until his death in AD 14. Augustus was emperor at the time of Christ's birth. His father Octavius had consulted an oracle about his son at a local temple. While offering a wine libation on the altar, the fire leaped to the roof of the temple. The priest told Octavius his son would achieve greatness, adding this sign had only happened one other time, when Alexander the Great was sacrificing. In 2 BC, Augustus was celebrating his Silver Jubilee and the 750th anniversary of Rome. In 3 BC, a worldwide census was conducted, and a tax levied to pay for the celebrations. King Herod in Judea required descendants of King David to return to Judea, register in Bethlehem, and pay the tax. Herod was so loyal to Rome, they rewarded him with the title King of the Jews. This was the same tax spoken of in the New Testament that brought Mary and Joseph to Bethlehem. Luke 2, verses 1 through 5. Augustus was also called the Prince of Peace in his time, having resided over Pax Romana, or Roman peace, throughout the empire. The Romans also titled Augustus the God of the Nation. With such accolades, Augustus built a temple after being told he would rise to imperial power. Augustus traveled to the Delphic oracles in Greece to inquire how long his temple of peace would last. He was told, "Until a virgin gives birth to a child and yet remains a virgin." Based on the impossibility of a virgin giving birth to a child, Augustus felt his temple would endure forever. He dedicated his own temple with this inscription, Templum Pacis Aeternae. Oddly, it was at the time of Christ's nativity that without warning or cause, the temple collapsed on its foundation. Ancient astronomers read the signs of the heavens when Augustus went to Palatine Hill. Located in Rome at the centermost hill of the 7 hills, he asked the question to the oracle, "Will a greater one than me ever be born?" At that moment, a meteor lit the night sky. The woman put down her books and said to Augustus, "It is a sign of the future which is revealed to you. One world is ending, and another is beginning. This was alluding to the ending of a 2,150-year-old cycle of Aries